ICU where she was staying because she had a serious head wound. The lady was quite severely wounded, and the problem was that we found the video of this incident, and in the video you can see that the recognition is performed by showing the victim the photos of possible perpetrators among similarly looking individuals, so you can prove that they saw the person. But when we watched the video, it was more than terrifying, because the police officer came to the lady, and I'm not sure if I have a paper here so I could show you, but he took out the photo album and started showing the photos, and he was like, "Do you see him here? No. Do you see him here? No." He was on the third page, I think. Turn the page. "You see him here? No." He started pointing at the paper, at his photo. "Do you see him here? No." I ask you again, "Do you see him here?" Still pointing towards the paper. "No." So he turned the page. "Do you see him here?" No. He turned it back. "Do you see him here?" And then she pointed at the picture. And that was the basis for his conviction.
And is he on camera as well?
Yeah, we can provide you with this video.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, we have the video from the ICU where the recognition took place, and it's quite terrifying when you see it. So it's the police officer just pointing at the picture. "Do you see him here?" So that's a basic sample of a deformed evidence. Unfortunately, we can never find out from this lady who was the real perpetrator, because I'm not sure about the medical terms, but she suffered from amnesia, and when you, I'll try to tell it as a layman, when you convince the person suffering amnesia of something, they internalize it as truth. So she really thinks that he committed the crime.
Sure. Yeah.
But we can never be certain.
Right.
Because the police officer was unfortunately coaching her. So that was an example of a conviction which was later overturned. Unfortunately, in Czech Republic, there's no double whammy. I think it's in US code. There's no double whammy rule. So there were like 6 different proceedings, because Mr. Nečasaný was acquitted by the regional court, sentenced by the high court, and it was returned to the regional court, acquitted, sentenced, acquitted, sentenced. This took years, and they unfortunately destroyed the best years of his life based on this deformed evidence. And unfortunately, not only the legal and the incarceration effect, but the social effect, because they destroyed his life. The whole of society believed that he was a murderer, he was a criminal, he was a despicable individual, and he had to move, he had to change his name, unfortunately. So his life was destroyed irreparably by this act.
How old was he when he was released?
22, 23, I think. It took quite a lot. I'm not sure, because it has been a couple of years back, but yeah, unfortunate, very unfortunate case. But so unfortunately, I believe a lot of these deformed evidence was put forward, and we can never figure out if it was so or not. We have suggestions where it should have taken place, but unfortunately, it's unprovable.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah. Perfect.
In this matter of cases, because we have a huge amount of suggestions, notions, letters we receive from different individuals. However, we have a problem with analysis part of these cases, because it's such an amount of work that we are basically unable to satisfy all of them, because it takes a huge amount of time to analyze. We receive in tens of cases per week, so we are swarmed, unfortunately, in this regard. Yeah. proceedings, there was a case of Mr. Van Fabian, who is deaf, and unfortunately, his case it's a complicated case. It's based mostly on witness testimony, and his case was tried, I believe, some 3 or 4 years ago, and Mr. Van Fabian, because he was deaf, during the pre-trial stage, he was able to understand the witness without any problems. He was because he can read lips. So when you are facing him, he has no problem with understanding what you're saying. But during the trial phase in Czech Republic, it's organized in a way where you sit not behind, but next to the witness when he's speaking, right? So he's speaking towards the court, and you're sitting next to him, so you don't see his mouth, so you can read lips. And unfortunately, Mr. Fabian has told this fact to the judge, and he was like, "Okay, thank you. You'll have opportunity to ask questions later." And he was like, "Awesome. I'll look through the transcript and figure out the questions, and I'll ask the questions." But later, when he read the transcript and put forward his questions towards witnesses, he was informed that they were examined. You had the opportunity to ask your questions. You didn't.
Because couldn't hear it. Yeah.
Because
right.
he
Right.
didn't understand it, right?
Yeah.
So, and he was sentenced. It was also a murder case, but we're trying to renew his case with the help of a organization who is trying to help the deaf people in Czech Republic, because this is a terrible misjustice on the part of the judge, because when he informed him that he will be offered the opportunity to ask his questions, and okay, that's fine, that's okay, I'll read the transcript so we don't take up too much of your time. And then they told him that he had an opportunity, which is actually correct, but I don't think anybody would consider it just.
Yeah.
So that's a case we are currently trying to solve.
Okay.
There's a lot of these cases. For example, Mr. Eliash, Mr. Temple. Right now we are working on Mr. Kramny. There's a lot of different cases we are trying to, but unfortunately, with the state of the renewal process as it is, it's quite complicated, because you have only a couple of options how to overturn a final decision in the case. One is a motion for basically another appeal, but it has to be issued by the Secretary of Justice of Czech Republic. So quite a long shot.
Yeah.
And the other part is the renewal process, which is ineffective. So basically the people are quite skeptical.
Right.
Right. And when they turn towards us, it's usually like, well, you have to tell them, well, it's not looking good. We're gonna do our best, but there's not a lot of options here.
Yeah.
And we'll hopefully get a good judge to pass the sentence on the renewal of the process, and hopefully the judge will be able and acknowledge his mistake for the first one.
Yeah.
That's the basic problem of this proceedings, because he has to acknowledge, I missed something, or I misinterpreted something, and that's a problem with the judge.
What's the impact for you and for your organization attending these conferences and speaking to people from various other countries and hearing about the similarities and the differences in what they're experiencing?
Well, it's invaluable because most of all, the shared experience is truly invaluable for us to figure out which issues were, for example, common to all of us, and ways in which we try to solve them the shared experience is excellent. We have to cooperate and figure out the solution. The more times we hear a different solution, the better the solution we will pick. So it's truly invaluable for us. The shared experience, the possibility of mutually assisting one another with, for example, medialization of these cases, because sometimes we have a problem with pushing our cases through the media. Most of our media tends to be not so critical of our government, so unfortunately we have a problem with convincing them to put forward the information to the public, and that's another invaluable part of this. So I think these conferences are really important for the improvement of the movement as a whole, and to solving particular issues of specific issues, as I put forward the renewal process and that center, as well as the global issues, how to deal with omitted or deformed evidence. That's a problem we all face. I believe that's a problem of all innocence organizations around the world. So sharing our experiences in dealing with these cases is truly invaluable for us.
It's really interesting for me too, especially as an American coming to this, just because I think my concern is, especially having made this, be the one making this video too, is my concern is saying, giving the impression that we have some better method or coming in too self-assured, but I don't. So far, my impression from everyone at the conference isn't really that. Everybody seems to be really on the same page that this is a universal issue and everyone's suffering from the same things. I mean, it's, as many mechanisms that we might have in place in the United States government to avert this too, we're still suffering many of the same things that you're suffering at different levels and in very different cases. And that's refreshing, I think, for me.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. It's a global issue. Unfortunately, of course, the solution will never be ideal. More checks and balances means more moving parts in the machine, so it can produce more dots. And that's where I wanted to have my final remark with the chief of a judicial union, or the Union of Judges in Czech Republic, which compared the state of the justice in Czech Republic to a Toyota factory. Of course, there's going to be some doubts, right? And that's the best judge in Czech Republic. Sad.
Quite sober, yeah.
That's sad. Yeah, comparing the justice system to a Toyota factory, and no repercussions were made.
Right.
So that's the state of business in our
Right.
country.
Right.
Toyota factory. Yeah, that's sometimes made.
It's a little more subtle some places, and other places they're just flat out. I mean, sort of like the lineup that you described too. I mean, the idea that officer is actually on camera pointing out too is just, it's so shameful. It's wild.
I'll send you the video through email so you can put it in the movie, because it's really terrifying. When I saw it, the lady is on the verge of consciousness. She's drifting in and out. I understand why they had to do it. I understand it. They had to figure it out. But in this way, to omit any even attempt of an objective investigation and just point this one's good.
Yeah.
That's the one we want.
They had to do it, but they should have followed an actual procedure.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Right. No, that's great. I think
they had an opportunity to complain towards a state attorney, for example. The person deciding this complaint is his superior, which is logical, kind of, until you figure out that they're sitting in the same office. They're buddies. So how high would you put your chances in this scenario, right? Close to zero?
Right. It's terrifying.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the Czech Republic was in the last year informed by the European Court of Human Rights that these proceedings, let's say, had their reservations. because there's a couple of issues with these, but most of all, it looks like they're not really effective again.
Yeah.
Basically, you can prosecute a police officer. I've yet to see it. We have seen a couple of judges, but again, it was the most blatant cases of misuse of justice. For example, when they tossed out the public or tossed out individuals from the proceedings, which who only wanted to record. In Czech court, you can record the voices. The sound is without question. And to record pictures or to have a transfer, online transfer, you have to have the approval of the judge, but not for the sound. For example, when they tossed out people who were recording sound, yes, they received a what was it, a note, I think. So, unfortunately, the sanctions imposed are well, let's just say not adequate.
Yeah.
Because if I would perform my job in a way, for example, we had a police officer that there were what you call it, telephone tapping records when they tapped the
text
phones.
records, sure, yeah. Texting records or
Not
sorry.
texting,
Okay.
but the phone records.
Yes.
When they tap the phone.
Sure.
And the evidence is, of course, the recording of the phone call between the parties. So later, for the court use, they had to transcribe this. Well, unfortunately, sometimes transcriptions don't really match the conversation, which is recorded. But in Czech Republic, there's a problem with this as well, because the defense can put this part forward. Excuse me, Judge, I have to suggest that we listen to the recording because the transcript is malformed in this way. And then the evidence becomes the sound. But until then, the evidence is the writing. And when you don't put it forward, it's taken as truth. We have police officers who malformed these transcripts in a way that the suspect has basically implicated himself indirectly, and it never took place. It wasn't there. Right. Mr. Perichevich listened to 28 minutes of the call, which was supposed to be transcribed. The sentence put in the transcript never left his mouth. So it took 8 years for the attorney to acknowledge that the transcript was malformed in this way. No action was taken, not towards the investigators, not towards the attorney, and the conviction currently still stands.
I'm frankly stunned that the recording was saved, because I feel like so often there's no recording. I mean, there's
we have our issues with this as well, because but of course I'm aware of their work, and I applaud them only because their work is irreplaceable. We need these kinds of people. We need these watchdogs, and their work is excellent. From what I saw, hats off.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. There were some, Mark particularly wanted to get everyone sort of saying a universal phrase in their own language, which we might have to go back and forth to figure out quite.
The wording of it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But
so just give me a sec. I'll pick it up here.
Yeah, sure.
Aware of the situation and be aware of the risks with destroying of this evidence. Well, evidence was destroyed, and the basis for this destruction was a internal memo with procedures regarding regular waste, not evidence, regular waste. And unfortunately, it's irreversible. We'll never figure out if the evidence could exonerate this person or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we tried to save it multiple times, multiple avenues which we used. We used public pressure, we used individual pressure. No.
Right.
Unfortunately, it has been destroyed.
Yeah.
As a regular waste. You should keep evidence, at least in Czech Republic, you should keep evidence until the criminal responsibility for this act is not, I'm not sure how to translate it, I'm sorry, but there's a statute of limitations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So until the statute of limitation expires, you should keep the evidence because it can be renewed, there can be some modifications, right? It doesn't happen.
What's the point in having a statute of limitations, right? That's the procedure.
Yeah, and the evidence then becomes not the flesh, not the bone, and not the skin, but the words of somebody who saw it. I think that's unacceptable.
Right. Yeah. And there comes the bias and everything. Yeah.
Platí, že jsme všichni omylní. A nelze z toho vnímat jak členy státních orgánů, soudů, policijní vyšetřovatele. Toto je univerzální problém, který musíme řešit.
Okay. Yeah.
A musíme s tím počítat. Systém na to musí být připraven.
Okay.
A kdybychom obdrželi větší podporu ze strany ať už OSN či jiných mezinárodních organizací, bylo by možné jejich problémy alespoň řešit.
Okay. Great. The legal systems.
Yeah, the legal system.
And you can shorten these too. I think these are a little bit long too. So I mean, don't feel like you have to cover every thing. But even if it's just something about the human error being the same across all borders.
Unfortunately, I had to repeat this line a lot of times.
Yeah.
Because that's
just the challenges are universal.
Okay. Jak se ukazuje, tyto problémy jsou skutečně univerzální a objevují se napříč všemi státy v obdobné rovině. Bohužel zde existuje něco jako černá díra v právním systému, co se týče nespravedlivě odsouzených na poli mezinárodního práva, což je deficit, který myslím, že by zasloužilo napravit. Deformed or omitted evidence, it's a universal issue. It should be solved.
Great, wonderful. I think that covers everything I had for you. It was really enjoyable chatting with you and just hearing about your experience. So,
one more which you probably should know, and our attorneys take pride in their conviction rate, which is currently sitting at 96%, which is below what we would expect from human error in general, which is, as my colleague told you, 10%. We have 96% convictions. When you are convicted, or when the prosecutor charges you in Czech Republic, well, you don't have a lot of chances to convince the judge. That's shameful, I believe.
Perfect. Yeah.